Good morning. So I'm from Epping Forest in Essex, and in Essex we've had 55 schools affected by the RAAC situation. So in my local community, just down the road from me, we've got a local primary school with not returning until Monday, with some children having to go to different schools, and another secondary school as well, where there's going to be a staggered return. So obviously there's been a lot of concern about this in the local community, and actually after the summer holidays, it's been a lot of disruption from parents, from childcare to school meals. So I'm seeing the impact here on the ground in Epping Forest in Essex, and I know the County Council have been working really hard alongside the Academy Trust and the Department of Education to make sure there's as little disruption to children as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is that a third almost of the cases that have been found in Essex? I wonder why that is. And do you think questions need to be asked of that, of the authorities there? As the Education Secretary has said this week, it's not technically her responsibility, although she is now taking a lot of the flak for it.
Well, it's of the 55, I think around a third of those are Essex County Council schools. But Essex County Council have been really proactive on this for some time, and they've been working with some schools historically. So where they've been aware, Essex Council have been working with the relevant authorities. I think it is just unfortunate that a lot of these 60s style buildings are within the county, and of the councils which the Education Secretary is referring to, Essex is one of those that has been really proactive in trying to tackle this previously. But obviously, as the new evidence came to light from the Department of Education towards the end of the summer, we had to act quickly, along with other schools around the country, and obviously the Academy Trust as well, who are responsible for their own schools.
You're disappointed in your Conservative government as to the lack of action they have taken on this over the years?
I mean, this has been going on since the 90s. That this was first discovered that there were issues with this RAAC concrete in the 90s. I think it's right when this incident happened over the summer where the beam collapsed that action was taken, because ultimately the safety of children has to come first. Obviously, it's disappointing there was such short notice. What I would say is that action has been taken, and this audit was done earlier in the summer to identify where these schools were. So at least this was here and the information is available, rather than having to look at things from scratch. Yeah, sorry, you didn't answer the question. I was asking you, how disappointed are you in your Conservative government, which was in power for most of the years that you've talked about there and done absolutely nothing? Well, through the 90s and early 2000s, and until 2010, it was a Labour government in power. But
you've been there for most of the time, so you can't just sort of shift it to Labour. Rishi Sunak, the current Prime Minister, he just halved education budgets when he was Chancellor.
Yeah, well, what I would say is there has been a programme of repairing schools. I think Nick Gibb was on your show yesterday talking about the billions which has been put into repairing schools and rebuilding schools. But obviously, it is disappointing that we're in this situation now. Yeah, it's a bit disappointing we're in this situation now, and the safety of children now has to come first as we've discovered these problems.
Holly, can I ask you about the news that we learnt yesterday about Birmingham City Council? I mean, this is our second biggest city in the UK. It is the biggest local authority in Europe, and they've declared bankruptcy. And this isn't the first local authority in recent years, and I'm reading that nearly a third of councils in the poorest areas of this country are also on the verge of bankruptcy. That's 14 of 47 in the north, the Midlands and on the south coast could go bust this year or next. What is going on with our local councils?
I mean, this is a problem across the board. Ultimately, it does come down to financial management and how councils run their finances. I think the issue in Birmingham is quite a specific one, where there was historic issues with how people were paid, particularly the discrepancy between men and women. But actually, we're seeing many councils go bankrupt, particularly because of the pressures from social care, whether it be children's social care or adult social care. I know in Essex, where I'm a representative, 60% of our budget goes towards social care. And since the pandemic, there have been even more pressures than ever before, particularly more complex needs, but also in an ageing population. And this is a real significant pressure on councils, which is consistently meaning that the finances are a challenge.
But it is, I mean, as you say, Holly, it's a specific case in Birmingham where they were hit with a £750 million bill for equality of wages, which they had to find from somewhere. And obviously, who's got that? It's sitting in the bank. So that has hit them badly, but obviously those other conditions do come into force. Are you feeling the pressure there in Essex?
Yeah, I think everyone's feeling the pressure. As I say, social care is a huge cost. Inflation and increased interest rates affects councils in the same way as it affects residents. So I know that finances are increasingly becoming difficult. Where I'm a district councillor, we've managed to keep council tax as low as possible, but that means making difficult decisions. We try and protect those extra services, which I know people in the public appreciate, but it's always a difficult balancing act.
OK. Holly, thanks very much indeed for painting us that big picture there.